Welcome to the Collide Kids Podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey, y'all, welcome to the Collide Kids Podcast. I'm your host, Christen Clark. The Collide Kids Podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. I am so glad that you're here today, and I hope that you and your family had a wonderful Easter celebrating the resurrection of Jesus. What an incredible reminder of the hope and the life that we have in Him. I always love this time of year and the opportunity it gives us just to slow down and reflect together as a family. Speaking of slowing down, my family is officially in spring break mode right now, which has been such a gift. We are soaking up some downtime, enjoying being together with family, and it's just nice to take a breath from the usual busy pace of life. And so if you are also on spring break or your spring break is coming up, I'm so glad that you're choosing to spend a few minutes with us today listening to this podcast. So maybe you're in the car heading somewhere fun, or you're on a road trip, or you're just traveling, or you're just having a slower day at home. Wherever you are, thank you so much for listening. And hey, if you are traveling, this is the perfect time to go back and explore some of our past episodes as a family. I was thinking about what were some of the fun episodes that we did here on the show, and podcast is such a great way to pass the time together, especially when you're in the car, and it starts some great conversations. So I wanted to recommend a few episodes from the past that have been really special to me. Listen, I love all of my guests. I really do. But these were just some episodes that stand out that I want to encourage you to check out. So I'm going to recommend episode number 156 with Jason Rates, all about learning how to speak with people instead of to people. Very good. Episode 181 with Ryan George. This was an incredible interview with a guy he's an adventurer, and he shares about his experiences skydiving and airwalking and even kayaking over a waterfall. It's incredible. And I loved my conversation in episode 193 with Haley Arsenault, who was a physician's assistant and became an astronaut with all the space astronaut conversations we're having right now with the SpaceX thing that just launched. I thought that would be a fun one for you to listen to. And another really great one had to be episode 213 with my friend Russo Brasser, where we talk about his Quester YouTube channel and the power of asking really great questions. I hope you will take a few minutes to check out one of those episodes or listen to all of them. Just stack them and binge listen as you're driving down the road. So let's jump into our conversation today. I am joined by Breanna Churchill. She's an award-winning children's author and the founder of the Brown Bear Book Club. She is passionate about helping parents create meaningful and faith-filled moments through reading and storytelling. And she is an educator. She's a teacher. She's been a preschool teacher and a director. And she's going to share a little bit more about what that's like and how she felt called to teaching. So for all the teachers that are on break right now, this might be an encouragement to you. When she's not writing or teaching, you will find Breanna playing games with her family, teaching in children's church, or soaking in a beautiful sunset. And I love this. She holds tightly to Psalm 127:3 that says, "Children are a gift from the Lord." That truly shapes everything that she does. This is such an encouraging conversation I hope you will enjoy. So let's dive in. Here's my conversation with Breanna Churchill. Well, Breanna Churchill, I am so excited to have you on the Collide Kids Podcast today.
I'm so glad to be here.
This is so fun. I'm excited to talk with you. Would you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yes. So my name is Breanna. I am a homeschooling mama here with my husband. I also am a children's church teacher. Been doing it for over a decade and teaching little ones, honestly, for many years. And I also am a children's book author, and I founded the Brown Bear Book Club, which is all about empowering parents and teachers with resources and activity ideas for young children.
I love that. I think that's so great and so needed. So I'm excited to talk with you today. But before we do that, because this is a podcast for kids, I always ask my guests to tell me a joke. So do you have a joke for us today?
So actually, I'm torn between two jokes, if that's okay.
Let's do it. I love two jokes.
Why didn't the cheetah like to play hide and go seek?
I don't know.
Because he always is spotted.
Oh, that's so true.
Yes.
That's cute.
And then the other joke was, why did the Sunday school teacher take an art class?
I don't know.
Because she wanted to learn how to draw children to Jesus.
Ooh, that's it. I've never heard a Sunday school teacher joke on the podcast. That's a first. Good job. So let's talk a little bit. This is something about my show. For those of you that are just tuning in or just discovering this, I've been doing this show since 2020, and I love getting to interview different people about their jobs. So I've had all kinds of different people in different careers, but I've never actually had a teacher. I think because teachers are so busy, and when they do get some free time, they don't want to spend it hanging out with a podcaster. But I'm excited to talk with you today because I feel like there's lots of kids that want to be a teacher or they're interested in education. So I'm excited for you to share your story. Would you just share with our audience a little bit about how you got started as a teacher and why you wanted to become a teacher?
It started when I went to college, and basically I thought I was going to be in performing arts. I know this sounds really funny. I thought I was going to be an actress and sing, but teaching, I felt like teaching was the perfect place to be creative and teach young children. So I got a degree in early childhood. I started teaching with the littlest of the littles, so infants, toddlers, preschoolers, and I took my passion for the creative arts. So singing, dancing, all of that. I took all of that into the classroom. And then also I love Jesus. And so in my church, I took that same passion for dance and acting and singing and all of that. And that's how I also teach the Bible to my students in creative ways.
I love that. And I can see the performance in you. I just noticed that you have green glasses on your head.
I did.
Which I love. I love green glasses.
Yes, I saw that you love green glasses. And I like to read to children. When I'm reading to children, even before I became an author, as a teacher, I always like to have an attention getter. And so I like to wear big glasses or pull out funny props. And so I was like, I got some green glasses like Christen, so I'm going to put these on today.
I love it. Yeah, yours are a little bit bigger than mine, but they're really cute. I like them a lot. So what is it about being a teacher that you have enjoyed, or what's something about teaching that really helps showcase what you can do or how God's created you?
Oh, yes. Well, the thing is, children learn through play. And I feel like when some of the best teachers, I believe, are the ones who enjoy playing. And so for me, I have a big kid side in my personality. So I am the messy paint. I am the pull out the scissors, the paper. Let's make the gooeyest science project. Let's do the object lesson. That is my teaching style. And so I rarely ever sit in a chair. I like to be on the floor with the kids. And so as a teacher, that is pretty much what you would expect in my classroom, is very hands-on. I think learning should be fun. And that's my goal with my students. And I also still tutor now. And that's also my goal, is to make learning engaging. And it's not just to teach to a test, but for children to enjoy the learning process.
Yeah. And that's so true. I think a lot of times we think about teachers, they have to be really knowledgeable about the subject. But really, it's just you have to be passionate about learning, right?
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit more about your journey as an educator, because I know you said you're serving in your church, you're teaching at your church, you've been a teacher in the classroom, and now you're a homeschooling educator, right?
Yeah, so my journey, I started off as a 0 to 6. So I started off teaching infants and toddlers, and then I moved to preschool. And I did that. And then I became a director as I was teaching when I was pregnant with our oldest son. So my last year of teaching, I taught at Head Start, and I was a director and I was a pre-K teacher.
Wow.
From there, my husband and I knew that I would stay home. And so once my children were born, I started teaching them. But I always taught in my church. I never stopped teaching, maybe a little slight break once I had kids. But I was teaching my kids then. So there really wasn't any break.
Yeah.
And homeschooling mama. And now I tutor once a week in our homeschool community, ages 4 to 8. And so actually everyone's 5 now. So 5 to 8. And I'm still teaching at church, and that's 4th to 8th graders.
Yeah, and teaching is just a part of who you are. So whether you're in a classroom or not, you're still teaching.
Yes, that is so true.
What has teaching taught you about your relationship with God?
Oh my. It has taught me that the Father is the perfect teacher. And one thing I love about God is that he is so patient. I think one of the things I saw immediately when I started teaching kids is like, you want to do all the things with them, but then you realize this requires a lot of patience. And I think God is so patient with us. But then I also realized God is so creative. Each child he created so uniquely, and they learn differently and they grasp concepts differently. And I see him in them. You know, they love, and it's so many aha moments in the classroom. It really is. In the home and in the classroom, you see so much of God's creativity through children.
Yeah.
It challenges you also to love on a different level that you probably have never. It's a selfless love that you have for your children and your students.
You're right. God is so creative, and it's amazing to see just how different people take in information and how they process it and all of those things. I've never been a teacher in the classroom. I've been a teacher at my church, and I've done teaching in music. I've done that, or I do that now. But I think it is really interesting too. For me, when I have to teach something, how much God teaches me about myself or about the subject before I can give it to my students.
Yes, that is so true. And I think the classroom that I have now is so amazing to see how God is a part of every subject. He's in history. He's in math. He's in English. He's in science. Oh my goodness. He is all in science. He is in every part of every subject. And that is something that I probably don't know if when I first got into teaching, I don't know if I noticed it, but now that I'm in the depths of teaching a lot of different subjects, and I'm like, wow, he really is in everything.
I love that. That's such a good perspective that God is in every subject. He really is. He's even in math.
He's in math. I mean, think about it. You think about geometry, everything, shapes. I mean, you open up your eyes. I was actually thinking about this. I had a conversation with someone recently, literacy versus math. And I was like, honestly, math and science are the two subjects that children see like immediately from the time that they're born, because you think about math, they're immediately seeing different shapes, different angles, different spaces. So math is not just numbers or numeric concepts, but it's also geometry. And science is you open up your eyes, you see science all around you. You're breathing in science. You're hearing science. It's all the senses. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how you went from being an educator and a teacher to being a children's book author.
After I had my son, I realized I wanted to take the things that I learned in the classroom, and I'm like, I still want to share this with the world. And so that's how the Brown Bear Book Club got started. My son, he used to love this book called Brown Bear, What Do You See? It's by Eric Carle. And he spoke his first sentence reading that. We were reading that book, and he started talking from that book. And I remember I was during a time of prayer. I had been praying, and the Brown Bear Book Club just came to me. I was getting my hair done. And I started thinking about all these ideas. And I said, I want to share books and activity ideas and the things that I started doing with my son when he was a baby. I'm like, I want to start just sharing this. And I know what it's like now that I'm a parent. I really see a different angle from when I was a teacher. I'm seeing a whole nother perspective. And that's how the Brown Bear Book Club got started. And then later, both of my kids, honestly, were into trucks and vehicles. And I was like, I want to write a book, because I couldn't find one that included all the little vehicles that they liked. And so one of my friends, we were having a play date, and she said, just write. She said, have you ever thought about being an author? I was like, no, I didn't even think it would be possible. And so I learned how to create a book through awesome YouTube University. And
That's how we all learn,
right? And I wrote the first book about the alphabet. It was my first ABC transportation book. And I've been writing since.
That's amazing. How many books do you have right now?
So far as children's books, I am now at 4 children's books. My latest one is Cheetah Cheetah Slow Down, a story of winning and losing. And then I've done some children's journals for them to create their own stories. And then I have some adult inspirational journals, but as far as children's books, 4.
Tell us about your inspirational journals. What is that and why did you want to put that together?
My latest children's inspirational journal was the 5-minute gratitude journal for kids. So teaching kids to see the little and big things to be grateful for all around them. And they can draw and write. And then far as adults, I have the goodness of gratitude journal, when God calls you to teach, prayer journal. And because I think it's important, it's hard for us to be ready to teach our kids or our students if we're coming from an empty, burnt out, and overwhelmed place. And so I love to journal. I've been journaling since I was 8 or 9. And so again, YouTube University taught me how to create journals. And I started making journals because I feel like, you can post all these activities and books online for parents and educators. But if they're burnt out and overwhelmed and are not getting filled up themselves with their time with the Lord, it's like, is it really being fully helpful? And so I think about the whole teacher, the whole parent.
What is it that I know you said you journal, but when you're feeling that burned out feeling, because I know lots of people go through that, kids and adults, they go through that feeling of maybe they don't feel like it or they feel lazy or they feel like they don't feel connected with God. Mm-hmm. So what do you do personally to help you get reconnected and make sure that you're in a place where you can pour out?
One of the things I do is start my day with God. I start my day with Him. And so it's prayer, it's worship, turning on music, sometimes not turning on music. Sometimes it's just singing naturally, journaling, writing things down, and just being honest and real with God. When God calls you to teach journal, it's a prayer journal. And I just write down, I write down prayers, things that God shows me in scripture. And just in general, sometimes I'll just go on a walk and it's just me and my Father just talking. I'm just like releasing, because as a teacher and as a parent, there's just so many things that can stress you or worry you, whether it's teacher related or parent related, but spending time with God has to be a priority because you can't do all the things if you're pouring out an empty cup.
And I feel it. I love that you said you go on a walk with God, because sometimes we think of prayer as like all the things we're supposed to say, but sometimes prayer is just listening and letting God speak to you, right?
Yes, that is so true. And I think it's slowing down enough to allow God to speak to us.
That's so true. That's hard for me.
As a teacher and as a parent, is you have this to-do list, and it's so easy to want to jump into your to-do list and not like, okay, I got all this stuff I need to do, and kind of push back your quiet time. But that's the first thing. I saw this girl on social media. She posted, "I'm too busy not to pray. I'm too busy not to get in the word. Ooh. I'm too busy not to." So as teachers and as parents, we have to prioritize that.
Oh, that's such a good perspective. I'm too busy to not do those things because we need God. We need God's help for sure.
Yep.
For people that are listening right now, maybe there's some kids right now or even adults who are thinking, I would love to be a teacher someday, or maybe that's something I want to do. What advice would you give them?
Definitely pray about it first. I was totally humbled. I should have shared this earlier. Like I was saying, I thought I was going to be an actress. I thought I was even going to be a journalist. I love writing. I'm like, maybe I'll be a journalist. And that was actually the track that I thought it was mass communications. I thought, okay, I'll go the journalist route. But I remember very vividly, I was at church and I was at the altar, and I just, in my mind, I heard, teach my children. Teach my children. And I remember thinking like, you want me to teach your children? And I knew I had heard from God, teach your children, me? Teach your children? And I felt so humbled. And I felt, humbled, but also like, okay, inadequate. Like so many people in the Bible feel, you think about Gideon. Yeah. I was just even reading about Saul. Like nobody feels totally equipped. I mean, even Moses, everybody's like, what, God? You want me to do what? But even teaching, I mean, people obviously, we're not like Moses, but in the sense of you feel humbled, like, okay, you want me to teach. And so I would definitely say you want to pray first. it's as much as it may look like it's just like fun every day, it's going to be challenging. So make sure that you hear from God. And then 2, I would just say, really analyze your why. Why do you want to be a teacher? Because that's going to help you during the days where you don't feel like teaching. And then the last thing I would say is, what age do you want to teach? And this is where experience comes into play. I highly recommend that teachers, anybody thinking about being a teacher, get experience working with children.
Yes.
Do not graduate. When I was a student, you had to have practicum hours. You had to go and be in the classroom. And I believe that that's still the law. You have to, before you can go teach, you have to be a student teacher or get hours to be. And so I would really just encourage aspiring teachers or children that might be listening is to get experience working with children of all ages, not just the age that you think you want to work with, but all ages.
Well, Breanna, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for being on the show today and for sharing about your books and about being an educator. I think there's so many people that are interested in this. So this is great advice you have from today. Where can our listeners find out more about the Brown Bear Book Club?
Yes. So the Brown Bear Book Club is everywhere. It's on Instagram. It's on Facebook. It's on TikTok. Of course, YouTube. YouTube is the biggest place. But most importantly, I invite the listeners to join the club. It's totally free. It's a newsletter. It kind of keeps you in the loop of all the things. www.brownbearbookclub.com. And you go there and I send, tips, freebies, activity ideas, book ideas, encouragement at least once a month. I don't flood your email box.
Yeah.
When I send an email, I try to make sure that it's really meaningful and that it's something that parents and educators feel like, I needed this. This is something that I can find resourceful.
Well, before I let you go, I always ask my guests to tell me a memory from when they were a kid. So what memory do you want to share with us today?
Okay, so one of the biggest memories that I've had is going to my grandmother's house every summer. And something that the kids who might be listening is we used to play out. So there was no playground set. There was nothing that you see today, just trees and rocks.
Mm-hmm.
But my fondest memory, one of the fondest memories was taking some tree bark and we would peel it off and make macaroni, like pretend that it was macaroni and cheese.
I love that.
I know. It was so much fun. Yeah. And then we would swing from trees. I totally had a nostalgic, very much so childhood going to grandma's house. Grandma's house was the place that we spent all day playing, that we played outside. And there was no toys. It was all pure play, trees, rocks, dirt.
The good stuff, right?
The good stuff, yes.
That's right. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, Breanna, this was so fun. Thanks for being on the show today. Oh, that was so fun getting to talk with Breanna. I love when she said that God is the perfect teacher because he's so patient and he's so creative. That's so true. And she said, we see how God has created every student and how they all learn differently. That really shows us God's creativity. She also said that God is part of every subject. If you think about it, that's so true. God is part of math. He's part of science, history. We can see his work and who he is through all of the subjects we study. And she gave us some great encouragement about staying connected with God. She said that for her, it was all about starting your day with God, reading your Bible, prayer, listening to worship music, and journaling, and making sure that you are getting filled up, especially us parents. It's important for us to get filled up because you can't pour out from an empty cup. If you'd like to learn more about Breanna and her book club, you can go to brownbearbookclub.com, and we'll have links for that in the show notes, as well as links to those other episodes that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode. If you want to check out some other Collide Kids podcast interviews that will be really interesting, I'll have those in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope that this conversation gave you some things to think about and to talk about as a family. And I hope that you are staying safe if you are traveling right now, if you're out on the road, or if you're spending some time with family on your spring break. I hope you have a wonderful spring break. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks so much for being here. If you love today's episode, share it with a friend and follow us on social media at Collide Kids Pod so you don't miss what's next. You can find more episodes and resources at collidekidspodcast.com and leave a quick rating and review that really helps other families find out about the show. Thanks so much for being a part of the Collide Kids Podcast. And in case no one has told you today, God loves you so much. See you next time. You know, raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app.